My name's Enda. I'm a fourth year sports science and health student at DCU. Currently in the library here, stuck studying, trying to figure stuff out, even though it's the first day, but that's fourth year, let's face it. So today I'm just going to talk to you about all the courses the School of Health and Human Performance offer. Okay, so that's the important information you guys want to know there, the points and the courses. So we've got a sports science and health course, which is my course, the athletic therapy and training, which is more kind of a medical, clinical course. Then we've got our PE and biology and PE and maths, which is about basically teaching PE. So I'll get straight into it. So we'll talk about sports science first. So this is what the booklet says. Basically, we use research and science to try and improve human health and also their performance. So bring together everything from technical stuff to statistical stuff to biomechanical, psychological things, diets, and strength and conditioning and everything in between as well. So it's quite a broad course. If you've got an interest in sports and exercise and health, it's probably a good thing. But I would also argue that liking science is more important than loving sport for this course, because it is a science course. Everything you do, I don't play any sport right now. I know a lot of people who, aren't interested in sport, but they like it because it's so about the human body and it's all that type of thing. So you don't necessarily have to like sport, but you do have to like science. It's also good if you don't know what you want to do, because there's so many options at the end of it. And then if you've got a master's or a job in mind, it can be a really good way through. I'll talk about that a bit later. Also, you don't really have to be sporty. Most people in the course are just friendly and quite hardworking, and that's it. You don't really need to be mad sporty or playing county or anything like that. So, So overview, it's 4 years. Last year was 522 points. There's 20 hours of lectures a week, and you are going to be in the library for about 10 hours of study. When it gets to fourth year, we're probably going to be I'm already in the library, and it's only the second day. There's 40 places, so quite a small course, so it's good like that. It's quite small classes, and then it's all on Glasnevin campus. So first year, oh no, I'm running out of battery. Everything's going wrong here, lads. Right, back in business. Okay, so modules in first year. First of all, you start with your basic science, your chemistry, your physics, and your biology or your physiology. And then you also do your psychology. And the whole idea behind this is that these inform your next few years, and everything you cover will be based off the most basic sciences. So then you go into semester 2, you start to apply those sciences to things like conditioning science. So that's your strength and conditioning, your motor learning and control. How do we learn skills? Adaptive physical activity, bringing in people with disabilities into the equation. Physiology, again, that kind of continues throughout the whole course. Really just going in deeper depths into the human body. Performance analysis, so stat taking into people. Applied health related fitness is more focusing on the health side of things. So then we go into year 2, we continue with our conditioning science. We get more into anatomy and physiology, again, going more depth. Sports psychology, so we now apply that original psychology to sports and performance, and we go into our biomechanics, so really applying our physics then. We continue with our physical activity psychology, so applying psychology then to the broader health environment, not just the sports environment. Our sociology, so understanding where people come from and how that might impact how you deal with them. Conditioning science then, again, continuation of the previous module. Nutrition, genetics, and then research methods, because ultimately you are a scientist, so you need to know how to research. Then third year, it starts to get quite complex now. We're in physiology, where it's like pretty high level stuff, pretty in detailed stuff. You're getting into the workings of your heart and how different receptors are being binded to cause different types of actions in your heart. Injury and illness then, so that's just learning about, you're going to be in contact with athletes. You've got to have a broad understanding of what they might be going through injury-wise. Exercise referrals, that's, how do we actually get physically inactive populations to be active. And then coaching and inclusion studies is kind of bringing together the high-performance coaching side of things, as well as including people with disabilities as well. And then we go into intra. So this is either 4 months unpaid, 6 months paid. It's pass-fail. The college would either contact the employers or you can find your own. 60% of people who do this get offered a job afterwards. which is really good. So you'll end off in places like Hockey Ireland, Sport Ireland, GAA teams, Leinster Rugby, and DCU Exoskeleton, all those type of places. So some really good experience, and this is genuinely a place where you launch a career from after you leave. And then fourth year, we really start to get down to the nitty gritty. You have a few options. So you continue with our research methods because you're going to be applying that to a research project. And then we've got a clinical exercise physiology. So this is like really high standard stuff now. We're getting into, how we exercise and the actual molecular effects it has on different diseases and how you prescribe for different diseases. And then then you choose between business planning or union, which is an extracurricular module. And then you choose 2 of exercise medicine, talent development and sports systems, and advanced labs. So advanced labs is like bringing people into a lab and doing serious tests on them, like VO2 max tests, Wingate tests. Exercise medicine is more how do we get chronic illness populations to be physically active. And then talent development and sports systems is how, we've been taught how to coach and all that type of thing, but it's like, how do we create a system full of sports scientists and researchers and coaches and parents and athletes and everything, and how do we get that together to become an actual successful system? And we learn all the different systems in the world and how you can actually build a system to create a successful place. And there is well-researched stuff behind that. And then finally in semester 2, then we just continue on with your research project, which is just, you pick a topic and a supervisor, and they'll tell you everything and how to do this research. So you'll bring in a population of someone, a special population. You'll have to carry out a series of tests and try to see what type of exercise helps them improve their symptoms or something like that. Assessments then, no 2 days are the same. So everything from group projects to exams, quizzes, essays. I think we were in the hall one day, kids from the local school came up and we had to do a coaching practical with them. So it's everything. And it's all 100% CA. I think there's 2 exams in first year, but that's it. Everything else is CA. So you've got plenty of time to, work your way through. And if you don't do well on something, you can claw yourself back. Jobs then. So most people will go into postgraduate study. There's very few jobs out of this, which is, it is the truth. Those jobs are kind of split into where people eventually end off are split into 2. So number 1 is kind of the qualification based things where, you hand in your piece of paper and that's enough to say, I'm good enough to do this job. So things like that are like teachers, physiotherapists and things like that. And then the other side of stuff is the kind of reputation and experience based stuff like your performance analysis, coaching, sports psychologist, nutritionist, S&C coach, where you really have to try and build up a reputation with clients to get there. So that's kind of different. And it is happening over the next 5 years. It's predicted that the industry will move things like psychology and coaching away from a reputation-based industry to a qualification-based industry, but we just don't know. So that's kind of where that's going at the moment, and that's where you could end off. But all these require a master's, a minimum, to actually progress to. So just wake up. This is usually the time I fall asleep in lectures. So just a reminder, keep at it. We're nearly there. So now we get into athletic therapy and training. So this is more injury and musculoskeletal injury based. So this is all about rehab, prehab, so how to prevent injuries as well as come back from them. You're like a physio, but you don't do any of the other kind of illness stuff. You're purely based around managing musculoskeletal injuries and then trying to bring people back to a high performance state after that. And that's really all they do. So there's a difference between physiotherapy, as I said, and athletic therapy and training. So physiotherapy really look at an athlete as a whole. They're looking at, what their vitamin intake is. They'd have a little bit of nutrition, a little bit of performance. And there is quite a big crossover here, but athletic therapy and training mainly focus on musculoskeletal injuries and injury prevention and rehab at the latter stage of rehab as well. So this is their course structure, as you can see, broken down. As I say, I'm not going to go into this in detail. I haven't done the modules, but there is a lot of crossover with our course. But the main thing to notice is it's a lot more clinical based. It's a lot more human body based. There's a lot more biology. They're working with athletes a lot, and there's actually clinic hours, which is important as well. So This is an accredited degree. You have an international accreditation out of this one, unlike the sports science one. So you are an athletic therapist out of this. And as a result, you have to do clinic hours. So you have to sit with patients and stay with patients and try and treat them as part of your degree. So you will have exposure in our clinic on campus for in years 2 and 3, and then in 4th year you'll do a 6 month to 4 month placement. And the places that they go is just incredible. In sports science we don't get these type of opportunities because it's not as high profile, but they go everywhere from Premier League clubs to Australia to like University of Pittsburgh, probably the biggest sports university in the world. It's like the MIT of sports medicine. So like these guys go places in their degree, and it's really impressive. So definitely something, if you're looking at kind of getting out of the country and going somewhere with it, it definitely is a course to choose. Then assessments, again, it's all continuous assessment. There's a lot of more examinations because it's a little bit more medical, so you kind of have to know your stuff a little bit better. But yeah, and then there's shadowing and clinical group work and all that type of thing as well. And then, of course, there's a final year project, which is kind of similar to ours, but you'd be given more kind of, this is an exercise or this is a treatment. How does it work? It'll be more based in the athletic therapy training side of things. And then in terms of jobs, a lot of them will actually set up their own private practice. We do business modules as part of the degrees. So you actually learn how to set up a business and how to business plan. So that's really important. A lot of people will go on and do a master's in something. A lot of these guys do actually become physios as well. There is a new option being set up next year where people coming out of the athletic therapy and training on sports science degrees can choose in 3rd year whether they want to do a master's in athletic therapy and training, and they get an integrated master's so they can go directly in. So maybe it's a different path. If you're doing sports science, you can go into it now in a couple of years' time when that becomes an option. So it's just another option. And of course, there's millions of different options out of this. And then we get on to our education courses. So this is to teach the new Leaving Cert education course. So you've got PE and biology and PE and maths. They're 2 separate degrees. You choose them in 1st year and you do them from the start. Basically, you do your a side of sports science, mainly focusing on the coaching side of sports science. Then you do your education side of things, so getting more into how do we actually teach people these skills and these things. And then you do it with another subject like biology or maths. So then you have the qualification to go off and teach your sports. You've got your qualification to teach your biology, and then you've got your education in between. So PE and biology, so you do your fundamental PE concepts, and then you'll also be able to teach junior cert science as well. And it is the main thing to focus with these ones is schools look for people to replace a certain combination of teachers, and PE and maths and PE and biology is a very common combination of teachers. So they're really employable because of this, and it's one of the only degrees where you do 4 years and you become a teacher straight away. So you're the youngest teachers in the country, but there's no H-dip or anything. It's straight through and you're on. Okay, so then PE and maths is fairly self-explanatory. And then this is kind of how it's split up. So you've got, as I said, you've got your physical education side of things, which is all about, exercise, psychology, coaching, pedagogy, that type of thing. And then you move to your biology side of things where you're really getting into your genetics, cell biology, anatomy, physiology. And then you've got your education side of things. So you're actually down in the Institute of Education. They teach you how to teach these things as well as everything about them. And then assessments, they'll be a lot more practical. So you'll have a lot more kind of continuous assessment in classrooms, and you'll be assessed like, we've all been in classes as kids and an inspector comes in, and that's the type of thing you'll get. And you'll have coaching practicals on campus before you go into schools, but then you'll also have practicals in schools as well. So kids come down from the local school, you have to teach them how to play rugby in 20 minutes. And it is that way. So that's the type of thing they will be. And the only reason why I know this is because sports science has little bits of all of these in them all. And then school placement. So there's blocks of school placement in years 2, 3, and 4. This, I think it's similar to intro where the college will place you, or you can try place yourself. And then these are the requirements for all of the courses there. So 522 for sports science, 554 for AT&T, PEB is 656, and PEM is 532. So they're quite high, But fear not, there are ways and means of getting in. There are PLCs and courses that you can do beforehand to get in. I know many people who come in from TUD and do a sports course there, and then they come into second year of this course. So there's ways and means around this. Those points are by no means definite. And then there's DARE and HERE, which I'd highly recommend you look into if you're eligible for. So then finally, just the last few things I suppose I can say is just DCU Life. It's great fun. There's 120 clubs and socks. Tuesday shite night, so everyone goes to the pub, which is good fun. There's a good buzz on campus. In fairness, the place does feel, you're not walking around an old person's office. It's young, it's good fun, and it's exciting. Food's pretty good. Goosens and chip is up there. There's loads of opportunities. Every single hand's turned is an opportunity. There's people willing to do things for you everywhere, which is really good. And then facilities as well. I should have a picture of it, but I think it's the Polaris building they're building. So it's probably going to be the most advanced facility in sports science and human performance laboratory in Ireland. It's being built currently, and will be a huge asset to anyone who does the course. Supports then, just the DLSS. So if you come in through there is a disability learning service, so they'll help you with time for exams and things like that. There is a free counselling service. It does get pretty jam-packed near exams, so you do kind of have to be strategic about when you go on, but they will provide counselling for you. There's a maths learning centre. A lot of people struggle with the biomechanics and the physics. They will help you out there. A writing centre, there's a lot of writing in sports science because you're scientifically evaluating stuff all the time. So that's really important. And then the School of Human Health and Performance is really small, and there's loads of people there, and they're all willing to help you. So that is a really good support as well. And then other stuff. So the lecturers are teachers. A lot of these lecturers have been PE teachers in the past, and then they come in. So you're not just being an expert isn't just standing in front of you shouting all this knowledge at you. They're actually teaching you, and they're bringing you through. And then, of course, you go to the library and teach yourself as well. But they are good teachers as well as experts. The classes are small, so you get to ask questions, which is good. There's a lot of research opportunities. You get a chance to go down to the lab and get yourself tested in a lot of these parameters. There's variety. So, no 2 days are the same. I think every single day is different. You can go from one day coaching kids how to play rugby to another day, down in the lab sequencing a genome. So it is very, very varied. There's a lot of practical work in it. It's up to date, so they update the course every 5 years. This is a young science. It's not like physics, which is hundreds of years old. It's a young science. It's about 30, 40, 50 years old. And the industry is always pushing the boundaries of it. So, the course has to be updated every 5 years to keep up with the pace of the industry. And then it's busy. You're always busy, which is good. So if you're a busy person, it's good for that. So the key points to take away is it's a science course. You got to like science. They're all science courses. If you don't like science, you're probably not going to enjoy this. As I say, it's more important than liking sport. There's loads of options at the end. You can go into anything from psychology to genetics and everything in between. Be prepared to work in health as well. That sports thing is a lovely title, but the fact is, out of the 40 people who go in, about 8 of them will work in sport and about 2 of them will stay in sport. So just be prepared to work in the health industry and in chronic illness populations as well, and just the wider health industry. And it's a small course. So that's my talk. Fire away with any questions, please. Do go on to UniBuddy. You can talk to me there. And I also have a blog and a YouTube podcast out now. Would you be at a disadvantage having not done Leaving Cert PE but have done biology? I am unsure. I don't do PE and biology. I think in the last few years, people I know who've gone into it, the Leaving Cert wasn't the course available. So none of them have done PE. So I can't imagine it really affecting it. I don't know the requirements. Let me just check here. Okay. No, there's no requirements there. I'm unsure of the requirements. I think there's an 05 in maths and things like that. So definitely there's loads of things. I'm unsure of the requirements, but I don't think the PE is important there. But do email someone and find out. I think someone is on UniBuddy. Sarah Jane is on UniBuddy and she'll help you out. Do you know what UniBuddy is? I'll send that link in as well. So I'm just putting in a link to a podcast. So that's my podcast I've done about the course. So for those who are looking for the presentation afterwards, the podcast will probably do you. I'll say everything that I just said in it. How many hours a week is PE and biology teaching? I'm unsure, but I presume it's quite high. It's higher than my course anyway, because you have, you know, and it'll depend. Like sometimes you're on, if you're on placement, you'll be doing school hours, and then if you're, in lectures, generally there's about 35 hours of lectures a week in most courses, and then you spend about 10 hours more in the library. But that's across all courses, and you can spend less, but you pay for it in your grades. Is there a lot of places to get in onto the courses? So most of the courses in that's my uni buddy account, by the way, if you want to ask me any more questions when this ends. There's 40 places on sports science. I think 5% of places are reserved for people like in dare and things, but there is about 35 to 40 places on each of the courses. So they're quite small. That's why the points are so high, because of demand. But there's 40 places on each course as far as I'm aware. So yeah, that's the short answer for that one. Is there an A list of feeder PLC courses for DT? I don't know. I would talk to a fella called Mafty. He'll be on that link I just sent in there. He came into ATT through a PLC, and then he did a course in TUD, and then he got into the course. So he's a pretty incredible dude, but do chat to him, send him a message, because he'll know everything about that. But as far as I know, there's a sports science and health course in TUD, and if you do that 2 years in, there's a way of getting in. I know there's 2 or 3 people in my course who are in there, and they came in from there. So yeah, and it's a route that mature students take as well. When they don't sit the Leaving Cert, they come in that way as well. So that definitely is an option. I hope that answers that one for you. Okay, so we're nearly finished here, lads. Best of luck in whatever you do. I might get cut off. It is a brilliant course if you don't know where you want to go, and it's a good one just to do. It's a science course, and it's really good to enjoy your 4 years just getting stuck into things that you really enjoy. So absolutely, I implore you to go do it if it sounds like it's for you, because it's really good fun, and you're busy and you're doing things you like. So that's important. So yeah, best of luck, guys.